Good morning and welcome back, students. I am Ritika Vashisth from Takshila Model School, your SST teacher. So now we are going to discuss part number 2 of chapter 1 Civics. Earlier we have studied about part number 1, same chapter 1 Civics, our constitution. Now we will be studying part number 2. Let us continue. So we have to study today the key features of the constitution. Basically there are many key features of the constitution. Let us first one by one brief out every key feature. First is the federal system. So our constitution is basically a federal system. See, federal system means basically there are two types of systems. First is the unitary and second is the federal system. In unitary only there is central government. But in countries like ours, like India, we have a federal system. In federal system there are different levels of the government. Namely, the state government, the central government and the local government. We are not here to cover the local government. We will already talk about the state government and the central government. So the state government look after the matters of the state, whereas the central government look after the matters of whole nation. Right? The state government is subordinate, that means under central government, and the central government on the other hand is superior to the state government, which means the central government has more power and more resources than the state government. Moving on, one next key feature is parliamentary form of democracy. So in India like ours, we have democratic parliamentary form of democracy, in which there are obviously three organs, that is legislature, executive and judiciary. Here the executive is answerable to the legislature. Also in executive the people do not directly elect their representative, but on the other hand is presidential form of democracy, presidential form of government, in which the executive is elected by the people. That means the president is elected by the people. For example, in the case of feature is separation of power. In separation of power, there are three different organs of the government, which are the legislative, executive and the judiciary. The legislative is one which makes the laws, the executive is one which helps in implementing the laws, and the judiciary is independent of both executive and legislature, which interprets the laws. So the parliament is the example of legislature, the ministers are the example of executive, and as all of you know that the courts are example of judiciary. Right? So judiciary is independent of legislative and executive, and on the other hand the executive is always answerable to the legislature. Right? Which brings us to our next key feature is fundamental rights. There are many fundamental rights. First is right to equality. Right to equality means everyone is equal before the eyes of law, irrespective of his or her own religion, caste, from where does he belong, which gender does he or she have. That does not matter. Everyone is equal before the law. Next is right to freedom. That means everybody has right to do anything, whatever he or she wants. But the condition is it should not violate the law, right? That means you can shift anywhere. You have the freedom to move from one country to another. You have the freedom to profess any religion. You have the freedom to do any business. No one will restrict you. The next right is right to cultural and educational rights, which means that everybody has the right to education for culture and education. Okay, and the next is right for primary education, which means the students or the children from the age of 6 to 14 years should be enrolled in the school, and the education would be free of cost. Right? Next is right against exploitation. Right against exploitation means no one can harass anybody on the basis of his or her caste, gender, religion, etc. No one has the right to harass anybody. No child labor. This is strictly right against exploitation, children. Okay, and the last one is right to freedom of religion. Means India being a secular country, as we all know, there is no official religion in India, right? So anybody, you guys, me, anyone in the country can profess any religion whichever we want. No one can stop us from that. Is right to freedom of religion. Next is right to constitutional remedies. Now let us take that if all of the rights we have discussed have been violated by someone else, right? So where should we go? Whom should we complain? That this right the right to constitutional remedy brings us that we can straight away go to the court and demand our rights back, and court will provide us remedies and solution for our problem. So this is right to constitutional remedies, right? Which brings us to our last key feature, that is the fundamental duties. We as a citizen of India have very much fundamental duties, a long list of fundamental duties, of which 2 or 3 points I'll be giving it to you, right? That first one is our fundamental duty is to abide the constitution. Our fundamental duty is to respect the national flag. Our fundamental duty is to respect the national anthem. We should be all in a unity. We should protect our country. We should not destroy any public property, right? We should be in a sovereignty. So we as a citizen, we as the country of the citizens of the country should always pledge that we should always, or we will always work towards the nation, and we will never work against the nation. So this brings us to the end of part 2 of chapter number 1 Civics. I hope you have understood it. Thank you.